This week we got some fantastic follow-ups on Facebook versus Apple, Cyberpunk, and even more stories. So what's the point in waiting anymore? Huh? What's the point? Let's go ahead together, as a people of course, and check it out! And welcome to another sensational Sunday. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Texts It Out, and yes, I am back to talk about the tech news, and we going old school this week, baby! That was a little bit too enthusiastic, I'm sorry. But what I mean is, there's a bunch of small updates to some stories that I've been covering, as well as some new stories, so we're gonna go ahead and cover a few stories today instead of just focusing on one thing like I used to do back in the day. And we're gonna go right ahead and just hop into our first story. So last week I talked about the continuing saga of Facebook versus Apple, where basically iOS 14 is gonna add that feature where basically you can opt out of having sites track your data for ad purposes, and Facebook's been mad about it and they've been complaining and whining, and I was like, be proactive and do something about it. Well, apparently they did. They're actually out there testing a new notification that's going to inform users like, hey, if you allow this setting, it's going to allow us to give you better ads, and it's going to help small businesses. I think there'll probably be a large section of people that don't care, because I feel like there's just a large section of people that just hit allow on everything when it pops up on their phone. So I don't think it will probably affect them as much as they might think, but I think there'll be a section of people that'll be a little bit more aware. They'll be like, no, I don't want you using my phone's ID so you can track my location for ads. I don't care if it helps businesses or not. So yeah, that's basically the update. Facebook finally, instead of complaining, they're actually trying to deal with the situation, which is what I said last week. I'm like, why are you complaining about it? It's going to be a thing. It's probably not going to go away anytime soon. In fact, I can see other companies adding more, like, transparency options within browsers, within phones, etc. So this is something that you should get used to, Facebook, and I think it's going to be for the better, for the future of all mankind. And speaking of future, you know what doesn't have a future anymore? Microsoft Edge. And I don't mean the current version of Microsoft Edge, I mean old Microsoft Edge. So if you're not aware, I believe it was last year, 2020, the whole year was a blur. I don't know what happened. So last year they released a new version of Microsoft Edge that was based on Chromium, basically the same thing that Google Chrome is based off of. That's a lot faster and more secure, etc., because the original version of Edge kind of sucked. But either way, they're R.I.P.ing the original Microsoft Edge. So starting April 13th, they're going to be uninstalling it from Windows, which will probably just happen in the system update. They'll probably just remove Edge silently and just be like, it's gone. I don't think anybody's going to miss it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't run into a lot of Microsoft Edge fans, or any at all, ever. So it's not going to be missed. Just be aware that old crusty blue E is gone. It's because they removed Edge. And I don't mean the lighter crusty blue E with the gold trim around it. That's still going to be there because that's Internet Explorer. And unfortunately, some legacy sites, especially for businesses, need it to work. Even though it's not supported, I don't think they'll forcibly remove it. It'll probably just stay hidden like it is currently. But Edge is gone. No one needed it. Nobody wanted it. R.I.P. See you in the next one. Before we hop into our next spot, if you enjoy sensational and succulent stories such as these, make sure to subscribe so you don't succumb to seclusion from these stories. I tried. But you know what's not RIP'd? The issues with Cyberpunk. They're still going on. So let's talk about it. So since the last time I talked about Cyberpunk, they released their first major update. So if you remember back to that video, I said that they were going to do 2 major updates to implement fixes. So that was version 1.1, which apparently did bring some improvements to performance on the baseline PS4 and Xbox 360, or sorry, Xbox One. I don't even know why I went to 360. We're even talking about that now. Anyway, it showed a little bit of improvement, mainly on the PS4, not as much on the Xbox One from what I read. But, for me as a PC player, I didn't see much improvement. But then that introduced a game-breaking bug, so they had to do a hotfix. So that was version 1.11. So last week they released another hotfix, version 1.12, which I've already upgraded to, by the way. If you are on PC, I definitely recommend going on and downloading that, because apparently there was an exploit in the save files where if you installed a mod, someone could potentially use it to take over your computer. So Definitely don't want that to happen. That could be potentially bad. I can see several reasons why that might be bad. So go ahead and install that if you haven't, if you still have Cyberpunk installed on PC. Personally, after the 1.1 update, I went back and played it, and I experienced a lot of the same issues with multiple cutscenes, or it wasn't really cutscenes, or multiple phone calls playing on top of each other. And I was like, yeah, this game isn't fixed enough where I want to go back and try to finish it. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting on the second big patch, and hopefully this fixes a lot of the bugs and improves performance on PC. I mean, I can run the game fine, but I would like to get a few more frames with everything maxed out. That'd be nice. So I'm gonna wait. I'm still waiting because there's still some glitches in the game, and I don't want to get far in the game and then have it explode. So yeah, Cyberpunk has still got problems, but at least they're actively working on it. Hopefully they can get it to a playable state soon and kind of gain back some of the users' trust, because this was a big kerfluffle. It kerfluffled a lot. They kerfluffled the I don't even know what I was saying at that point. But I know someone that knows what we all been saying, and that's Apple. Because in our final story, I want to talk about Face ID. So it came out recently. Well, it came out as in the iOS 14.5 developer beta, and apparently there is an option to unlock your phone with a mask on. So finally, you can use Face ID with a mask, at least when 14.5 rolls out. It might be a little bit before it rolls out, so don't get too excited. And also there's another caveat, which is you have to have an Apple Watch, and you have to be wearing it, and it has to be unlocked. So basically when this comes out, if you have an Apple Watch that's like on and you're wearing it, and you have a mask on, it'll use a less secure version of Face ID to allow you to unlock the phone, because it's also being like, hey, you have this watch and you already unlocked it, so we know it's you. Kind of like they do with the phone and the MacBook. Like when you're close to your MacBook, you can enable unlock with Apple Watch, and as long as your watch is close to it, it'll unlock your MacBook because it knows it's you. So it's going to do a kind of similar thing with the iPhone, which makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, that does mean that if you want that feature, you have to invest in an Apple Watch. And I don't know why I'm saying unfortunately, because personally, I think the Apple Watch is awesome. But I understand that everybody wants a smart watch. But I also understand why Apple's doing that, because it wouldn't be great to enable a less secure version of Face ID for everybody if they didn't have some kind of second form of authentication. So having the watch along with a less secure version of Face ID makes sense, like if you're wearing a mask. Apparently in the beta, I don't think it was enabled by default. You had to go into the settings to enable it. So it's obviously something where they want to give it to users if they want to use it, but you know, using regular Face ID is going to be a little bit more secure. Either way, it's great that they're figuring out some kind of option, because yeah, it is annoying if you're wearing a mask, you go to unlock your phone, you got to put in this long 25-digit passcode. I'm like, come on, I'm still typing. I'm just trying to scan this coupon in the checkout line. Come on. And then you're sitting there, the cashier, like, you're sitting there typing still. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. So I'll be glad to see that roll out. I'm going to enable it as soon as it's available. Like, I ain't even going to wait until it's available. I'm going to just be in the settings. When my phone's updated, I'm going to keep the settings open. I'm actually just going to print out a picture of the settings and tape it on the phone. So that way when it's done updating, I'll already be in the settings. I don't know if it'll actually work. I don't think it'll work because it'll be a picture, but that's what I'm planning on doing. But anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think. Are you going to allow Facebook to access tracking on your phone if you have an iPhone for ads? Do you think Cyberpunk will ever not be broken again? Are you going to miss Microsoft Edge? If you're shedding a tear, let me know in the comments. And most of all, are you looking forward to the face unlock with the mask on? I'm definitely looking forward to that. To me, that's the biggest story this week. You know, that face unlock with the mask, I'm ready for it. Bring it on right now, Apple. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, make sure, tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. We out.